Five, four, three, two, one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to exit highly appreciated primary homes, luxury real estate, commercial real estate, businesses, cryptocurrency, so you can defer millions of dollars of capital gains tax. It'll help your friends, family, and clients do the same, not using a 1031 exchange. We're also streaming on expert CRE secrets as well, where we bring in amazing guests to speak about real estate and ways to grow your wealth and grow your business. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. She is out of the great state of Texas, and she has a passion for helping not only her clients build wealth with real estate, but also other real estate professionals as well. And I had the fortunate opportunity to see her live in person at the Tony Robbins EXP on a business build event in Texas, and said, hey, you know what? She is such an amazing speech and talk and inspiration that I said, let's bring her on the podcast. Please welcome to the show with me, Tammy Pack. Tammy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
And for our listeners, get to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Absolutely. Started off my professional life as an attorney, and I still, of course, keep my license, but I don't practice anymore. Then I went into retail, opened up retail stores, got out of practicing law for 5 years, opened up retail stores here in Fredericksburg, Texas, a great destination tourist town. Then we ended up opening what has become a really hot button thing for all investors, short-term rentals, which way before there was Airbnb, our little town of 10,000 people was just covered up with what we call bed and breakfasts back then. Even though there really wasn't breakfast involved, they were private cottages, very much like the STR today. So we ended up with a bunch of those, still have quite a few of them, have 8 on 10, 9, 11 doors right now. And we're building 4 more as we speak. But we also have a reservation company and for short-term rentals, and we represent about 188 properties. Got into real estate in 2015, started a team. We now have a team of about 20 agents. And we were really, really fortunate in under 3 years by 2018 to be the number 1 team in our MLS. So we just threw all the marketing at it, all the, we weren't spring chickens. So we said, we don't have 10 or 15 years to get to number 1. We got to go for it. So we did. So we threw everything at that. That same year, 2018, we switched from becoming our own private boutique brokerage to a team at EXP. That was in 2018, and have iconed every year, and was just so amazed and so proud at EXPCon this last year. They called out the number 1 team for all teams between 10 and 20 agents of volume, and it was little old Absolute Charm Real Estate Group in Fredericksburg. My husband and I were at the back table of this, 5,000 people in the room eating, the chicken they did, because we're at the very back literal table. And I heard him call our name. I was like, what? You think they would have told us they were going to give us an award? So I'm in high heels. He wasn't in heels, but I was. We had to run like a football field distance to get up there and go, what did we win? But so we've had some really good opportunities come our way, and have taken full advantage of them.
Amazing, Tammy. So cool. I'm going to be talking about the Realtor Giving Tree. And again, which is Tammy Pack. And you can find more about Tammy Pack by going to Instagram at Tammy Pack Talks. That's at Tammy Pack Talks. And it's PACK for Pack. So Tammy, before we go into all of that, though, I want to go take one other step back. I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. Mm-hmm. And so I want you to go back maybe to the high school days or the earlier days, right? And I'm curious, what are those 1 or 2 strengths or gifts that you believe you were given, and how do they help, how you help and bless people today?
Well, I was kind of a super nerd for the most part back. Everybody's always like, did you play any sports or anything like that? I'm like, oh my goodness, no. Someone, it was so funny, came up to me at the build event and said, so that was a great talk. So were you a wrestler? And I was like, what about me says wrestler? I don't know. And it was so funny though. I did win I've got my wrestling belt up there, a big championship belt. It was the Real Estate Superstar SmackDown. And apparently SmackDown is a wrestling term. And I said, no, that was a real estate realtor objection handling competition that I won, that Kyle Whistle and Dan Beer put on. And they Facebook streamed it where people voted. They would give one question to one person won, then they saw who voted, who answered it best. And then we kept moving up the ranks. There were 16 of us team leaders from all around the country who had done it. And I, lo and behold, ended up winning that dadgum thing out of everybody. And so I said, so just for the record, I was not a wrestler in high school or at any other time of my life, but my superpower was I was a super nerd, I would say. Because people were always like, oh, I bet you were a cheerleader and all this. I said, well, I tried, but I never could make it because I wasn't popular enough. But I was voted most studious in high school. And I got not exactly what I was going for. And so I did graduate high school a year early and college a year early. So by the time I got to law school, I was like, well, I don't know if I really want to be a lawyer, but it's only 3 years and I'm 2 years ahead. So the way I look at it, law school is going to really cost me a year. And as my mom said, she said, well, you look like you're 12 years old, so you need some more school and no one's going to hire you anyway. So I finished law school shortly after my 23rd birthday. So that would be, I would say, just being good at staying focused. And so those early years, besides just having some of that be born in me, like we all, like you say, have things that are born in us, that legal training, even though I only practiced trial law for 5 years, that legal training gave me so much, really almost being able to compartmentalize and to see the other side of everything, that it's probably highly annoying to be married to me or to be my friend, because, you're just really mad about something. And I'm always like, yes, but consider it from, here's how they're seeing it. Here's their perspective, because you have to. They give you a case. And they say, this week, you're the plaintiff or you're the state if it's a criminal case. And so you take these facts and you go argue it like crazy. The next week, they flip it on you and you have to be on the other side. And you manage to find those arguments. So it's really an amazing skill that I think keeps you level-headed and really able to step into someone else's shoes. So I try to share that with my team. They ask me all the time, they're like, don't you ever get mad about anything? Don't you get upset? So I get all those things. But I choose how I handle it and how I think about it and what I want to focus my mental energy on. And I think a lot of it does go back to that training.
Fantastic. Wow. I love that. Yeah. Good at not only studying in earlier years and being productive, but also staying focused. And then you took that into the legal aspect of that training that you received and be able to argue or critically think or think about both sides in a fair, calm, cool way. Is that a fair summary, Tammy?
100%.
Excellent. So now let's dive right into the number one secret to the giving tree, right? And we're calling this episode the Realtor Giving Tree, but really you can apply it to anyone who's in business, right? Yes. Anyone who's looking to build wealth. And so, Tammy, what's the number one secret to, the realtor, the business giving tree?
So we've been buying, my husband and I, we've bought and sold property over the years, as many people have. And the reason I aimed it really toward realtors is I found that I work with realtors a lot. I have a team of 20. They all want to own some real estate, or if they have some, they want to own more. But as with anyone, it's always like, how can I afford to buy that? So obviously this doesn't just apply to realtors. This is anyone who, whether you own some, a little, or a lot, if you would like to own more, which is almost everyone, then this applies to you. So I started out my talk at Build talking to agents because we know the market is shifting, no doubt about it. Prices are coming down, things are slowing down, but I'm an eternal optimist and I always believe there's a silver lining to everything. So I can't change the fact that the market is slowing, but I can say, well, there's going to be some upsides to that. So let's go through what some of those are. And one of the big ones is if prices come down a bit, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to purchase some real estate, not just to help your buyers, right? So I want agents to start thinking of the positive. How can sellers are going to not sell necessarily in one day with 47 offers. So they're going to start being more open to some of the creative purchase things that I'm about to talk to you about. It's really hard to get some of these creative things done when they're getting 47 offers all above ask and they can just walk away, right? Clean hands, cash in the bank. But the fact that it's harder is going to make some of them go, hey, I do need to sell and I need to listen to your creative idea. So I'm really here to talk mainly about those creative ideas. But I do want to say up front, I didn't get to say this in the talk because I didn't have enough time. There's always a way to buy real estate. So my husband, Wes, and I bought 2 amazing properties in 2021, which was the height of the frenzy, right? So even when times are amazing, you absolutely can. So what we bought last year, they were off market. So we found a seller who had talked in the past that he would be willing to sell his properties. So I just reached back out. I'm like, hey, how you feeling about that? Are you still wanting to do it? And I got those properties at significantly less than I think he could have gotten on the open market, which always makes you feel kind of weird about it. But I'm like, number one, he's a very sophisticated investor with significant resources, very significant, who has a financial advisor who kind of makes all of his decisions on what he's going to do. And he didn't want to be listed publicly. I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know why, but people are different. For some people, they're private and they don't want people knowing their business. And no matter what was said, he did not ever want to be live. He didn't want to be public. So I said, okay. So we were able to buy a $1,025,000 property, which was 3 short-term rental units with room to add a 4th, which was great. I mean, yeah, I think it's worth a few $100,000 more than that. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what I think is worth. He didn't want to list it, and that's the price he was happy with. Now, it was always important to him. He always wanted to know what he would walk away with. That's always his big factor. So what I told him is, it's kind of funny. At first, I told my daughter, who's on my team, who's pretty sharp cookie, I said, I'm going to tell him that, no realtor fees. And she said, don't say that. That denigrates our profession, which I kind of like. She goes, say you will cover the realtor fees. It just sounds better, right? You will cover all the closing costs. He won't have to pay any of them. You will pay them. So even though I'm paying them to myself, obviously, right? So I guarantee you, this is what you'll walk out with. I will pay all closing costs. You will walk out with $1,025,000, right? And I tried to get it for a little less just to see. And he came back and he and his advisor said, no, we want $1,025,000 at that price. And he also was really sick of the STR regulations. And for him, he goes, I'm not sleeping at night. I'm so mad about it. It's just ruining my life. I don't need that money. And it's making me angry all the time. I just want to offload these.
Wow.
So I was able to buy that one. And then I bought another one from him for $595. That was a price he'd come up with a year or two earlier. That was 2 units in the commercial, very central business district, excellent properties. And same deal. I said, you will walk out with $595. I'll make sure of that. I'll cover everything else. No inspection. So I tell people, you can't get everything your way, right? And people just don't get this. So they'll get what's a great deal on the property, and then they still want to inspect it, ask for repairs and all that garbage. If you're getting the deal, or if they're working in creatively financing, you can't beat them up on everything. So he knows because he's dealt with this. I said, there will be no inspection. There will be no outs, no contingencies. If we shake hands on this, we're buying it. I started thinking, I'm 55 years old. I have never in my life backed out of a contract I wrote.
Excellent. So Tam, I want to encapsulate that. By the way, I'm going to get some more context too for our listeners. Yeah. So the number one secret to the realtor giving tree, or even just the business or making deal giver tree, is to be creative and realize there's a silver lining to everything that we're going into, right? These change in the environment, these change in these interest rates, these change in pricing and what's happening here. And by the way, give you some more context too. So you remember that book called The Giving Tree? I want you to picture that book. You probably read to your kids. And it's the tree that the kid at a young age just keeps going back to, right? And at first, and he just, he swings on it, he plays with it, and he spends time with it, and it provides shade and does all these different things. And he gets older in his life. He comes back and asks the tree for more things, and the tree just keeps giving to him. And he eventually cuts it down. He uses it, I think, to build a house and to maybe do a boat ride and all kinds of cool things. And the idea of this analogy is now the marketplace, although it's shifting, but look for ways that it can have a silver lining that you can take advantage of and opportunities. Is that a fair summary, Tammy, on the Giving Tree?
Kind of. So we're going to go now into the second portion and go even deeper, because I like what you're saying there. And we're going to even kind of unpack this a little further, meaning the silver lining is important. And I wanted you to know that no matter when it is, you can get a good deal in real estate. So even in the height, but now let's switch. Now let's go into the property I just sold. And I want you to know, as far as the creative financing, which we're going to talk about secondary, that's going to be the next thing we talk about. But it's important to know that I've done this many times, not just once. But this particular property, we just sold it last month and we owned it for 10 years. So it's fresh on my mind. That's why I'm talking about this one. I didn't just pull it off one time. It's been done many times. So let's dig into that. This is really good stuff. So I thought every agent, every investor I know thinks, yeah, it's good to own real estate, right? We all do. But then when you start thinking about, well, why? Is it just because it's going to appreciate or it's going to cash flow? So this is when the Giving Tree occurred to me. I was doing a little video talking, just live driving down the road, about all the ways this property helped us over the years. There's 5 distinct ways I want to talk about. And that's when I realized, I was like, man, this property was the Giving Tree. It just keeps giving and keeps giving. So the way it helped us, number one, let's be specific. Let's not just think real estate's good. Let's figure out how good is it, right? So number one, I found this little cottage that I wanted to buy, and it was beside my house. And it faced my house, which was weird. It didn't face the street. I thought that's so annoying, that little log cabin's over there. But I thought, if I owned it as a B&B, then it'll be cool. So it had been a B&B in the past. This is part of knowing your craft, knowing your trade. The little gentleman did not know how to run it. He did not know how to market it. He was bringing in $600 a month as a short-term rental. I looked at it day one and said, it will make $6,000 a month as a short-term rental because I've done the work. I've had the properties. I know what guests want. I know what I can add and what I can bring. So you gotta have the skills. So I look at that and I said, I know what we're gonna make. We're gonna have to buy this thing. It's gonna do amazing. So over the years, number one thing it did for us, in the 10 years we owned it, it grossed a little over $760,000, which shows you from month one, it started bringing in $6,000 a month. So $760,000 in cash flow. Obviously, we had bills to pay out of that, right? But nonetheless, cash flow is super important to any investor, because if you have several properties and one's down, the cash flow from the other one is going to level things back out. So that's one way. That's kind of the beginning, when he just wouldn't swing in the branches, or at the very beginning of the tree. Then number two, we had tax savings. All those years, right? We had some good appreciation. We had mortgage interest while we're building equity. It helped us with our taxes. Everyone knows it does. I met a wonderful gentleman at the conference who said, yeah, but I live in Canada and we don't get to write off depreciation. I'm like, this is why I'm talking about this. That's just one of the 5 ways this property saved our family in so many wonderful ways, but you're getting focused on one thing. Okay, so don't focus on any of these. They're all very important. So we did get the tax savings for all those years. Number 3 is a biggie. Do you remember in COVID when we all thought we were never going to work again and have another dollar? There was a time I was like, what do you mean I can't work? Because just think about it. We were not only in real estate, which was very compromised. Our other business was a travel, lodging, B&B service. We had to give $600,000 in refunds in 14 days when everyone canceled everything. So what do? We had to think, okay, what do we do to shore up the business while we ride this out? We don't know how long it'll last. We went back to the giving tree, and the guy who had loaned us the money said, I'll loan you $170,000 of your equity. I'll give it to you right now. So within a few days, cut us a check just from our equity from the giving tree and gave us $170,000, which really just stabilized, took the pressure off. The property made well more than enough to ever have to worry about it. That was easy to pay back, right? So that was number 3. Number 4, let's see, what's number 4? I've slept since then. I got to stop and think a minute.
It's fine. When you think about, you got it?
The obvious one. We sold it.
Sold it.
Mm-hmm. So we even with we bought it for $350,000. I probably didn't mention that earlier. We bought it for $350,000. Mm-hmm. We sold it for $1,060,000. So it had tripled in those years. So even having taken the $170,000 out when we sold it, we walked out with $517,000 in profits. So that obviously helped us. And we can talk about the 1031 component at the end if you want, what we did with the $517,000.
Let me get the overview, right? So again, the giving tree is that you can always go back and be creative and figure out ways to make capital. This current gentleman who you sold it to for, who you bought it from $350,000, he's only making $600 a month. You guys turned around and made $6,000 a month, right? And you grossed over $760,000 in revenue over the time period. So you had that cash flow, which is amazing. Then you had the tax savings, which is the depreciation, offset a lot of that cash flow, which is incredible. Then you had the chance to refinance when things got tough and pull out that cash, and that cash was able to stabilize the business. Then you're able to sell it and make a huge profit. And so there's just so many ways. Those are 4. Maybe there's a 5th one.
There's a 5th.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one more, and you'll love this. This is just something that not everyone could immediately do, but because we did the thing, we did the work, we built the business that does reservations, and we take 20% as our reservation fee for getting places booked. So guess what? The new gentleman who bought it is staying with us. So the property now grosses over $100,000 a year. So that's another $20,000 year after year. We're continuing to make on the property. I said, that's when it's really the stump of the tree that we sit on in our old age and continue to collect $20,000 or so a year going forward.
Excellent. Yeah. So you're managing after the fact, because the person who bought it, buying it for investment, they don't have the expertise and they don't necessarily want to do that. And you do it for them, and you already know it all because you've been doing it all. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good time to transition into, capital gains tax deferral is part of what we focus on here. And it's a thing that sometimes people get frustrated with because it's 25 to 50% of their gain in the depreciation recapture, depending on what state they're in. And so I'm curious, Tammy, what would you say has been the biggest frustration for you or your clients or friends or family when it comes to the 1031 exchange? And then we'll talk about some creative ways to get around that.
We've been pretty fortunate. Most of ours have gone pretty well, as far as we got some good 1031 facilitators. But for me, the biggest thing was sometimes I don't want to roll it into an investment. I didn't want to this time. We have a personal major project on a home that we are doing, this old historic house redo. And we have a second home in Natchez, Mississippi, that is getting a 225-year-old house, getting a major redo as well. And of course, property values being what they are in Mississippi, there's going to be a shortfall between what the construction loan is and what we want done over there. And I said, sometimes I don't want another investment property right now. I want to finish our 2 houses. I want to do what I want to do with my money. That's the problem for me with, sometimes you do want to roll it into and continue, but I've got plenty of real estate. I want to also live and enjoy my house and do what I want. So what we came up with to be able to do it is, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts such as yours, wonderful episodes out there. And one of the things I came across was the cost segregation study. So we are doing, matter of fact, I need to get them ordered ASAP. We are doing cost segregation studies. Remember the 2 properties I talked to you that we bought, the $1,025,000 and the $595,000? I didn't even mention the really cool thing about those is the down payments for those 2 properties came from me selling some of my EXP stock. So that was a nice little bonus. I really loved that. So yeah, we wanted to be able to do what we wanted to do with it. So with a cost segregation study, they basically come in and say, well, short-term rentals are not even on the 27.5-year depreciation schedule. They're on the 39-year, unlike long-term rentals. So you take the price of the house, with the land off. So if it's $595,000, let's say it's $495,000, roughly. So let's say $500,000. Let's say that's what they would give it. They says a lot of things in there, like your refrigerator, your air conditioning, a lot of things are not going to last 39 years and the government knows it. So they allow you to put it on shorter schedules, 15, 10, much shorter schedules. What they're doing right now is if you have a cost segregation study and they come in, they line item out the things that are going to be on that 15-year or less schedule. And they said, typically it comes out to be around 30%. So it's probably on that $500,000 building, it's probably going to be roughly, give or take, $150,000 that we can write off. Now, the beauty is this year, bonus depreciation is allowing you to do 100% in 2022. And in 2023, it'll be 80% of that amount, then down 60, 40, and so on. But as of right now, you can take 100% of that loss. So think about the $1 million property. That's going to be probably a $300,000 or close to it negative that we can take. And then you've got your, 8582 form that rolls over your losses from the past. So when you add up the losses we're carrying forward, plus the cost segregation studies we're going to do on the 2 other properties that we own, that is going to offset most, if not all, of the gain on this particular property. And we'll have a very small amount that we'll have to pay, and we can use it for what we want.
Amazing. Yeah. That's one of the most advantageous, capital gains tax solutions solution, which is the cost seg and the bonus depreciation. And you're right. It is 100% this year. Next year it's 80 and it goes down a little bit, but in the meantime, invest right now. If you can find a deal that makes sense, don't let the tax tail wag the investment dog, make sure it makes sense, and or take your existing portfolio that you haven't done, maybe just some straight line depreciation, and go ahead and do that cost segregation study while you have the advantage of this. And then you can always roll forward the additional loss. And so that is such an amazing solution. Now, there's also another one, Tammy, I'd like to unpack with you a little bit more too. And it's called a deferred sales trust. Most real estate professionals and or even commercial real estate professionals, they had never heard of this, right? And it works for business sales and cryptocurrency. It works for stock sales, right? So if you had highly appreciated public stock like EXP stock, and you're looking at a way to defer capital gains tax, the 1031 exchange doesn't work for those other assets or even cryptocurrency. But you can use this deferred sales trust to exit and become a lender to this trust In other words, it's a seller carryback. It's a creative way to exit without having to carry back for the ultimate buyer who may or may not be, credit worthy or may not take care of the property to foreclose on. So your collateral can be secured against other assets, passive or active real estate. You can be in the stock market, you can be in crypto, and you can diversify. You keep the funds liquid in that you might want to spend it for some personal, needs as things come up. There's so many cool things that come to this. So I'm curious, had you heard about this before, Tammy, the Deferred Sales Trust? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?
It's hilarious. The first time I ever heard about it was at the Build conference. I had not heard about it. So I'm so excited to dive into it deeper. Whoever the gentleman that I talked to about for a few minutes with it made some great points, but I said, I've got to dig deeper in this. This is amazing. Because I tell you what, for the first time ever, I think too many people try to punt all of their tax questions and issues and just not think, oh, my CPA will handle it. I continually upgrade my CPA all the time. And I still look at no one knows your business like you. And this year, for the first time, we had to write $1 million tax bill to Uncle Sam. The first time you ever pay Uncle Sam $1 million, I said, this has just become 25% of my job. This is now part of my stinking job because I don't mind paying my fair share. But what keeps me up at night is thinking I didn't know about one of these great things like you're talking about, and I threw away money I didn't need to. So I would love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. And for anyone who wants to learn more about that, you go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We want to invite you to our free masterminds every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're breaking down the deal close story of the week. We're sharing you how to save a failed 1031 exchange and really just dive in to see if the Deferred Sales Trust could be a great fit for you. We also have the new book coming out called Building a Tax-Deferred Exit Strategy.
Wow.
And it's our proven playbook for unlocking your wealth plan for yourself and for your clients using the Deferred Sales Trust and also some other stuff like cost seg and some 1031 exchanges. But you can go to Amazon and check out that book. That being said, Tam, we are running out of time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Absolutely.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Tammy, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget to make sure to tell yourself to do?
Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. At 25, I was practicing law. I would tell myself, don't give up. You're going to be out of this soon. You're going to own your own businesses. And the sooner you can get out and go do that, the sooner you're going to be successful.
Fantastic. Second question. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
It's cliche, but people still don't really understand it. It's definitely Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's the old classic of understanding whether you're a business owner or whether you're self-employed, which is the biggest confusing thing for people, or whether you're an employee. And it's not bad or wrong to be any of them as long as you're self-aware of what your choice is and which quadrant you're actually in.
I think that's so true. And as you can't be reminded enough. By the way, I just bought the Rich Dad, Poor Dad Cash Flow, Getting Out of the Rat Race game. And I'm playing with my daughters and we're going over financial statements. I have the HP 12C calculators right here. And I'm teaching them how to do it on this calculator. Right. And then we're going through all of it and they're absorbing it, slowly, but they're absorbing it. And it's fantastic. So check that out. Number 3 question. What are you most curious about right now?
I'm looking and listening and reading and learning a lot about NFTs. It's the kind of thing that, I listen to Gary Vee a lot and I tend to believe what he says, which is it's too early for almost everyone. He said 99.9 of them are going to nothing. So it's not something you play with, but it will absolutely change our world in the same way that the internet almost changed our world. The whole metaverse, all of that. I'm trying to just, as he says, just be educated, just start to listen, start to learn. So you kind of see what's coming.
Excellent. Second to last question. What's the number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Leadership quote. Let's see. The truth of it is be willing to do what others won't. I remember once my daughter was sitting in here home from college and one of the agents ran in and said, oh, the toilet's clogged up. And I just immediately got up, got the plunger and started plunging it. And my daughter said, I can't believe you have to do that. I said, well, if not me, who? You cannot ever be too good because that's the best way of that agent learning that. But I bet next time she won't come tell me, she'll pick up the plunger and just do it. I'm like, because I didn't go say, well, we'll go call someone, but you got to be willing to get your hands dirty. That's how you gain the respect of your people.
Absolutely. You got to get out and pull the rope. You can't push the rope. I love that. Leading by example. Last question, Tammy, after all your success, helping all the people you've helped, building the wealth you've built, how do you stay centered? What's the habit you practice to stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Well, my husband and I are both, people of faith, and every morning we get ourselves grounded. We get up and do our 15 minutes of Bible reading every single morning. And then beyond that too, we just maintain character, for crying out loud. Just the silliest little small things, even like he had told agents on one of our trips, that they caught him saying a name or something, kind of a fun game, he would give them $100. He knew he was going to probably blow it and everyone would get the $100. Well, he had paid everyone except the last 2 or 3. So today, even I was like, I don't think you've done that. You need to stop everything right now. Go to the ATM, because they're just things you do. Even if it's a silly little thing like that, I was like, you will lose people's respect by not just standing in integrity and making it a priority, even for silly little things. You've always got to be honest and not exaggerate. I absolutely hate exaggeration. It's the same as lying. If you get caught exaggerating to me, I'm not going to quote you to anyone, and I'm not ever going to trust you again. And you've gone down this path. If you're somebody that people start the sentence, well, supposedly Tammy did this, or Tammy says she did this, that's a bad sign, because they know if I'm saying it, then they can put it on the witness stand. It's the fact. And if I'm not sure, I'll preface it with, this is the best I can remember how it was said. If you do that, they will have so much trust in your integrity that they trust you and they feel very secure with you. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, Tammy. Absolutely love that. I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing with us the wisdom of the realtor giving tree, or the business giving tree, being creative with capital gains tax exits, as well as just investments in general. I want to encourage you to keep staying focused and taking all of the gifts you've been given of legal training and critically thinking and being positive and cool under fire. That being said, for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you mind one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
The best place is on Instagram at Tammy Pack Talks. Pack is like you pack a suitcase. Very simple. TAMMY, Pack Talks.
Excellent. Thanks, Tam, for being on the show. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is an amazing way for you to exit cryptocurrency, NFTs, businesses, real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange so you can create and preserve more wealth, and or eliminate estate tax, right? Which is another big thing that we didn't really touch on today, but it's 40% of certain amounts. You want to get that outside your taxable state, which a 1031 exchanges cannot do. So you want to have solutions to your challenges or your clients' challenges. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, or also stream on Expert CRE Secrets. So we appreciate everyone out there who's tuning in, and hopefully you're sharpening your skill set to become a better real estate M&A advisor, financial advisor, and using the Deferred Sales Trust to do that as well. Thank you so much for listening. Check out our free webinar every Friday, 10 a.m., Mastermind on the Deferred Sales Trust. Check out the book that's coming out with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank and a bunch of others. And we will talk to everyone soon. And by the way, it's called Building a Tax Deferred